or just say something.
Go.
Oh, hey, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to All About Art with David Reed, Tom Galvin, and Joe Moy. The late Joe Moy, who really should have been on time.
It's all right. It's okay. You picked up the slack. Here we are. Wow. Beautiful day in the broadcast studio, and here we are having fun again with all about the arts.
All about art.
Yeah, we got a bundle full of artistic happenings to tell you about today. All kinds of stuff going on in the community, even though we're still somewhat isolated. We're still active, and so we're going to be telling you all about that later in the show. And we have a very special guest. Do you want to mention, David, who our guest is?
Yeah, Diane Funston is our poet in residence, leads a lot of great poetry programs, very active in the community, not just locally, but the poetry community, I mean, literally nationwide. She's very connected. So we're excited to catch up with Diane and see what she's been up to.
Yeah, she's a fine poet. I do a poetry group here once a month, and Diane she comes along and joins us. Her poems are just full of such fine images. She takes you into her garden. Simple things become profound things through the eyes of Diane and her words. So it's going to be a real pleasure to see what she's up to. She's been having to stay out of her house for a year now due to a fire. And
that's got to be worth a poem or two.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's fodder for words there.
Yeah, but she's back with us in Marysville now, and she's with us today on our show. So we're very happy to have Diane Funston.
Very excited. Absolutely. So what's up in the weird art news world, Tom?
Well, David,
that's a loaded question because I know you've got a lot to share.
David, I look into various aspects of the arts and kind of what's happening with people who create art, and
you kind of look at the kind of the soft white underbelly of.
I try. I try. Sometimes things just need to come out. Things have to be said. But we look to celebrities, David and Joe. We look to celebrities to sparkle and shine.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
And create for us an immaculate world of glamour. But coming to find out, some celebrities stink.
Figuratively, literally, not figuratively.
Just olfactory, right?
Yeah. Breaking news, Situation Room, some stars stink. Literally, David. Yes. Joan Rivers substituted spray. Here's some shocking examples. And here's one. We're starting off with Joan Rivers. Was that Joe Moye? Joe, no. You showered. You aren't in the story. I know you're a very hygienic man. Joan Rivers substituted spraying vodka and water on her clothes and armpits for deodorant. She thought it would ward off odor. And it might, but her armpits often woke up with hangovers. Oddly, it was Joan who said of Russell Crowe, "I prefer to sit downwind of him at showbiz bashes. He has a problem with body odor. I don't think he's using enough vodka and water in his armpits." Johnny Depp,
after a tough day in the arena.
In the arena.
He's drinking his deodorant instead of using it.
But both of them, Joan must feel confident. Look.
Yeah.
Geez, I'm just hoping I don't have a ring there, but she must feel confident with that vodka. And I wonder, if you throw enough of that on your skin, doesn't it eventually kind of get absorbed into the bloodstream? So she might have just applied a lot of deodorant to her armpits. Johnny Depp goes days without showering, and since the domestic violence trial with Amber Heard, he goes days without working. Jessica Simpson told Ellen she doesn't like how slippery her teeth feel after she brushes them. So she doesn't. There she is right there. Watch out. Don't slide on those teeth. Ellen almost fell down on those, walking across her mouth. So she doesn't. She flosses and uses mouthwash. What is the problem with slippery teeth? I mean, you can't fall down on them, And I'm wondering if, in our listening audience, if anybody wanted to test just sticking their finger in their teeth, if it doesn't feel sort of, moist, there's a little slide to it. If you
Wait. It's COVID. Don't stick your fingers in your mouth.
I'm sorry. Bad advice.
Sorry.
Thank you. That was an urgent message from the CDC that just broke into the show.
I'm setting a bad example.
Don't test your slippery teeth. Don't do it.
That's Joe Fauci. But he speaks for the CDC.
So his little brother, yeah.
Yeah. So in 2000, I think you'll find this interesting. In 2008, Kate Hudson, while working with Matthew McConaughey on Fool's Gold, now she smells good, but just listen. She begged him to wear deodorant and even offered him some of her own, please. Matthew refused and told her, "Women love my natural scent. I smell like a man. I smell like me." And that will be the last impression that I'll do for maybe the next few years. Megan Fox, go ahead, Joe.
There's the commercial with him sitting in the back of that truck at the ice fisherman thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So he smells like fish, and he doesn't.
It just made me realize what it probably smelled like inside that Buick.
Those little shanties they pull out on the ice. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised he's got any kind of love life at all. But he's Matthew McConaughey. Megan Fox admitted, "I'm horrible to live with. I don't clean. My clothes end up wherever I take them off. I forget to flush the toilet. Friends tell me, Megan, you totally pinched a loaf in my toilet and didn't flush." And of course, my question is, how does this come up in an interview?
Yeah.
And secondarily, I'm glad that the loaf that she pinched was total. I think that's a victory for Bran. Snooki, the reality TV star, rubs cat litter on her face. She rubs cat litter on her face. Yeah, I know. I mean, think of it. And to clean her face. And she does that instead of going in for expensive spa treatments.
Oh, yeah.
Is there no middle ground?
You can buy a 25-pound bag of cat litter for pretty cheap, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you can throw out all your soap and water. But I just think there's middle ground between cat litter, watching with cat litter, and going to an expensive spa. There's a few other options in between, but not for Snooki. I just hope her cats don't get confused. Cameron Diaz wears the same outfit for days in a row and then throws them away. Do you think she's ever heard of Goodwill? She's got a grouchy face. Finally, this is the last big shocker. Kesha drank her own urine. I don't know why. Our summary song today is called "Who'da Thunk It, Who'da Stunk It." You're always the man of the hour. You've got that amazing star power. But buddy, you're really no flower. How about taking a shower? You're not like all those countless cuties. You're one of the movie's great beauties. So please add bathing to your other duties. 'Cause frankly, I think you got cooties. Though he smelled like an elephant, women love my natural scent. Matthew McConaughey said it, and that's what he meant. When Kate Hudson said, "Please use my deodorant," you capture our hearts on the big screen. When you kiss the girl in the big scene, we never imagined you weren't clean. But guess what? You got terrible how you blow the last word. Guess what? You got lousy hygiene.
Wow, big. Wow.
Okay, weird news for.
Oh, that was masterful, sir. You got every bodily function there is known to man into that.
Tried to.
Well done.
Basic.
Well done.
Yeah, we all live in bodies, and I think there are temples. Our bodies are our temples, and some of the time we just need to bring them out to our temple. And you can't count on Cameron Diaz to do that. So.
And I learned a lot, honestly. I now know if I get invited to some parties, to remember to stand upwind from certain people.
Certain people. Russell.
That's right.
Russell Crowe being one of them.
Yeah, he has a body odor problem, is what is what the vodka girl said with Joan Rivers. I wonder how she was so outspoken. She was drunk. Her whole body was full of vodka.
Absorbed through the skin. That's an
Yeah.
interesting concept.
It's like, honestly,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
The little spritzer, yeah.
One-stop shopping,
I used to carry my vermouth for martinis in a little spritzer bottle like that. You just, you didn't want too much to dilute the vodka or the gins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use it for underarm deodorant. Wow. Good stuff. Should we jump into our conversation with our special guest?
I don't know that Diane still wants to be on this show after the weird news. But I think she would definitely class the place up.
That's a pretty hard act to follow.
Whose little box is she going to be next to? Is it me? I'm good.
It's a mystery. We should have a little small wager on that each week.
Diane can do nothing but elevate the tone of the show that I've brought to it so far. So I would love to. She's my friend and our friend.
Our friend, yeah.
But we have a kind of a little connection through our poetry and
good.
Poetry slams that we go to, poetry groups that we go to. And I've been on her show and now she's on ours. And it's just a pleasure to welcome her. Are we welcoming her now, Dave?
We are indeed. Diane Funston, come on out.
Go. Hi, Diane.
Oh, hello, everybody.
Hey.
It's great to be here on this beautiful sunny Sunday.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Diane. Gosh, where do we begin? Our YubaSutterArts&Culture poet in residence, creator, and MC or moderator for the Poetry Square program that you've brought to the community for several months now. Tom?
I was wondering if we could just begin quite simply. I think the best way to introduce a poet is if, Diane, you could read a poem.
Oh,
sure.
Would that be possible to start with a poem and then
even better.
People get a flare of who you are and how well you do this stuff called poetry. And we can talk a little bit about all the activities that you're involved in the artistic community around here, if that would be okay with everybody.
Yeah.
Around here and nationwide.
That would be fine.
You've got a big net.
So what are you going to read,
It's
Diane?
a big world today through Zoom, I have to say. It's makes a small world of our big world. So
Yes, it does.
I'll read you this one. It's called Roots. I'm also a gardener and happy to be back in my garden. So this is called Roots. I like my roots to tangle, tributaries from the taproot down deep, divining rods to nourishment. But change, that constant companion, kept close ties this year. The pruning loss, at first devastating, forced new shoots to grow. Like an inexperienced rose gardener, in awe of how quickly wounds heal and spring forth with new life, I too stood amazed at possibility, gain accomplished only by losing everything, almost. We came through the conflagration, the entangled herd of confusion, looked towards home, that place you still have the key for, surrounded by rivers and rice, orchards and suburbia. Roots again reach down, sprouts grow through scars, like life possible again. A house is just a house. Home is where you live. Stretch the limbs, become green again. Blood pulsating, mind awake, growing now back home.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Your ability to take us into your garden and then take us so much deeper within the vision of that, within the parameter of that garden. Your vision kind of penetrates through those individual flowers to a deeper meaning and a deeper level. And so it always impresses me that you don't have to travel the world to see the Himalayas and write about it. You find the same magnificence, the same presence, the splendor of a leaf of grass or whatever in your garden. And I don't know anybody locally or any of my friends who write who do that as well as you do, to use the garden as your palette and to find so much meaning there. you often refer to what's going on in your backyard. Am I correct about that?
Yes, backyard and front yard. I'm one of those people who did away with the lawn and put in vegetables and fruit trees. So I don't have the green grass of home, but I have citrus and figs and roses and vegetables and a little bit of everything out there.
Any chickens?
No.
No chickens.
I think if I were younger, I might consider chickens, but they seem like a lot of work to me now. So.
She's in Marysville. That's a Yuba City thing, the chickens.
We got them
they have the wild chickens.
Too, I'm here to tell you. At
Do
least suburban farmers.
Do you write every day, Diane?
No, I don't have a set time. A lot of people, they sit down in the morning and they write, and I'm involved through Zoom now in a lot of prompt groups and have friends kind of West Coast and East Coast. And we talk, and we're in groups where we'll throw prompts to each other. I'm in a wonderful group that I love that's in Pennsylvania, actually, on Mondays. And at the end, we just throw one of our lines to each other. And then the following week, we'll have written on that line. And, it's been a great experience.
Wow.
I have to say, for writers, the pandemic has actually sped up productivity, at least for poets and writers that I know. It's something that really transferred to Zoom well. There are a lot of things that are kind of, even music has been, you'll have, I'm tuning or this and that, but writing has really come out of its shell. This morning I was in a writing group, and people from New Zealand joined, and Europe, and then the European people kind of went to bed as New Zealand came in, and it's just a whole different experience. It's wide open. Who knew? But,
we can all be pretty cynical about the whole thing, but on the other side of that coin, exactly as you've described, the opportunities have been there too. And as hard as it's been, as devastating as the effects are, it's opened up some amazing doors, and again made our big world a little bit smaller, or at least more accessible. I mean, it's here, it's available, and all of us are using those tools, and good to hear that from you, Diane. So
even if it's not that far away, I'm closer with my friends in Sacramento now than if it would be, okay, there's something going on at 6 and it's traffic time going to Sacramento, and then it lasts for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you're driving back. And it's just so different now that at the very least, a lot of these will be hybrid of in-person and online. And some of them, the leaders of the groups are just saying, we're continuing with Zoom. I live in Sacramento, and I don't want to drive across town in traffic. So it's great.
I agree. Isn't it? It's amazing. I've been back to the school, and it's been half in person, half Zoom. And I'm watching all these different people having to embrace this technology and learn how to function with it. And as we're doing that, there's these groups, like you say, these people that are suddenly like, hey, I can do what I need to do at 4 a.m. if that's my time, because there's somebody there. Yeah, it's a really cool that we're all learning. Who knew?
Very true.
And you have a monthly virtual show. So that's one of the ways that you're maximizing Zoom and using it to share your poetry and the poetry of it's 3 other people per show. Is that right?
3 other people and myself. It came to me because when I first started Zoom, it seems like Hollywood squares. You see all these people in squares and they move around, and I thought poetry square, and I would have there'd be 4 people that would make the square. Technically rectangle, maybe, but that's kind of how that name came about. The format.
It's 4 square, just like the old ball game.
Just like the old ball game in the playground. Yeah.
No, it's great. You've done it. You've done it consistently. Always great participants. The poets are wonderful.
There are some great poets that you're
And that guy you had on the last show, Roger something.
Oh, him. Yeah, we picked him up.
Roger. Yeah.
I think he was one of those hitchhiking poets from the 60s.
Okay. We're talking about Diane's husband, Roger Funston. Wonderful, wonderful writer.
Yes, who's also a poet. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
That's so exciting. Yeah, I know. So what are we missing, though? I mean, yeah, we all like to get together, and because we wrestle with this all the time, the value of the virtual stuff, the Zoom events. We just did our most recent youth musical comedy, Could You Hug a Cactus, our Applause Kids program, all virtual. Each young person was filmed and recorded individually. Alex Mazerol stitched it together, and they got a half-hour youth musical, and it's just fabulous. Now we all want to be sitting in a theater watching them on stage, but hundreds of people are going to see this. And just like with the poetry, I think the audience is there, whether you're a poet or not. Folks like this kind of experience. And when we have the chance to get back fully, like you said, driving to Sacramento, it's kind of a burden. So what's it going to look like? But what do we sacrifice, that human interaction, for any kind of art experience?
Well, mingling to a certain extent. I mean, you can mingle on Zoom, and unless you're in one of these 200 participants, and some people are blacked out and whatever. But
it gets a little bit awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the human touch, of going up and saying, "Boy, I really liked that. What inspired you to write that?" Or, "I like the way you performed this," or those kinds of things, passing cards to one another.
Yeah.
Well, the performance itself is, right now I'm looking at this piece of plastic, and it's not you. It's no matter how much I would like it to be you, it's not you. So you miss that performance, that feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people interrupt each other more on Zoom, especially because maybe there's a little lag somewhere and you hear a lot of people talking over things, and some people don't realize they're unmuted when they should be.
Right.
Causing
occasional embarrassment for us all.
Oh, yeah. Occasional.
In 5 minutes. Wasn't that one of the great famous ones from
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just yesterday, I was on a history one in the morning from my hometown, and a woman kind of took over the screen and was talking they should have said, "Okay, it's time for the next person." And so someone who didn't realize they were muted just said, "Oh, shut up, Joan." And of course, everyone heard it. Nice. And your square lights up so they know it's you. And it's like, wow, obviously those people know one another.
Oh, God.
But
maybe that's what Joan needed to hear.
Tough love.
Diane, can I ask you again about your poetry? How much has the pandemic informed your poetry? Have there been? I guess that's enough. How much have you responded with poetry to what you've experienced?
I've written a couple of pieces about the pandemic, and I think for me, I have to have a certain amount of time before I can digest something. I have written one thing about my house fire, and I haven't, it's like it has to settle, I think, for me before I come back to it. So I can't say it informs a lot of what I write.
Okay.
Because for me, I guess I have to say this, it hasn't been a terrible thing. For example, in other things, a lot of I also make Mosaic Art. And that's kind of going nowhere right now. I have things, there haven't been many venues to show or to sell. And so I'm not doing as much of that unless I'm doing it for someone special or for my garden or something. I just did a bowling ball, for example, for the garden.
I saw that, yeah.
And I'm thinking, I could do more of these, but then I would have a bunch of mosaic bowling balls, which are large and heavy. They're very heavy. And, it'll wait until, normal comes back. So I can't say it works for everything.
So is it more, and I want to go back to how you see the world around you and find poetry there in just so many things that so many of us overlook or just walk past on our way to work. And you stop and look at the garden, or you look at the surroundings and find some deeper layer there, some metaphor for something else that might be on your mind. Is that how it works for you? You don't have the idea of I'm going to go out to the garden and write a poem.
No,
I'm just something hits me, something strikes me. It
it
hits you in a
kind
certain
of
way.
comes instantly, or you're given an idea and something hits you the right way. I was in a poetry workshop this morning, and they had prompts, and they talked about fruit, and they read a poem that had plums in it. And, it's like, okay, so your prompt is something about fruit. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do plums, but I was thinking about kumquats. And I wrote a poem about kumquats. And the first time I tried one, they were in a salad in Tehachapi, where I used to live. And I was expecting one flavor, and I got another. And now I have a tree, and it turned into things being bittersweet like life. So it kind of became that metaphor of, you have to take the sweet with the sour, and sometimes it's a combination that balances out. And it's kind of like life is full of bitter and sweet.
There's a lot of metaphor in what you see around you. You see, I'm wondering if you just think metaphorically. Oh, that reminds me of.
I have been accused of that.
I think it's a great way to look at the world myself.
I've had people in my past who said, can't you just say it plainly? And I think, to me, it's just natural. It's not something I think up. It just comes out that way. So.
Now, is it ever an auditory? Because I sometimes will hear a phrase or think a phrase that just has a musical beat to it, and it'll just stick in my head, and then what I write comes from that. Does that ever happen?
Yeah, that does happen. And especially when a lot of people rehearse or practice out loud, and to me, I do it in my head, and I can count out the beats or the syllables or whatever just to myself. And if you're in a room with people who do it out loud, it's kind of, what did you say? Oh, I was doing it out loud, and I'm thinking, wow, I never do it out loud. I just internally kind of do the rhythm. So
yeah, so what you're talking about, and I don't want to get too technical about all this, but you're talking about structuring a poem, and oftentimes there's a lot of free verse out there, and much of it's lovely, but much of it is not breaking with structure. It just doesn't know about structure.
Right.
This is on my mind. I'll write it down, and this line will be a paragraph line, and the next. No, there's something about form and structure that's always built into your poetry. And you read it, but when you're reading it, I can kind of visualize how it will look on the page, and I think that's an important element in poetry. And in reading poetry is how it appears to you first on the page. What's it look like to you? Does it draw you in visually? And your poems really kind of pay attention to structure and form and syllabic counts and things like that.
Yeah, they have their own. It's not, I don't follow a form. I used to see forms as kind of a straitjacket way of straitjacketing your creativity. If you had to have so many syllables, or, almost a mathematical problem that you have to solve in this creative writing, which to me makes it less creative. But, it does actually have a form, when certainly you work it to have a form. You have your idea, and then you do go for rhythm, or substituting this word is better than that word. And again, working it out yourself, why it just fits better. It's hard to explain, but it sounds better. It fits better.
The right feeling. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Big shout out to Gray JN. Wanted to mention that kumquat cookies. Oh, that's hard to say.
Oh, wow.
Her neighbor I'm hoping. And then Ted Landale jumped in and said hi. So just wanted to point out
hi,
that
Ted.
people are actually watching us. Yeah.
Where do you see? Where do you see the stuff, Joe? I can't see anything.
It's in the
I
comments.
don't see anything either, but
It's under the right. There's a little box that says comments and private chat. Just go to comments.
Oh, I see.
Speaking of how it appears on the page, as some people know, we've been recording community members coming in and reading poems for our April. April is National Poetry Month. And so Abby came up with a concept called Poem a Day. We're going to have at least a video recorded individual reading a poem every day in April, all 30 days. There'll be 2 on some days. I think we're going to have more than 30. But Sean Harris read a poem by Juan Felipe Herrera, former poet laureate of California. But on the page, it looks like a starburst. And each line is one of the radiating stars from the center. And we researched that's like, how do you read this thing? And his directions are, we'll start with any line that you care to start with. And they're all kind of little standalone phrases. And it was really kind of neat. And then Sean, once we got him going, we helped him pick that poem. It was really kind of fun. But yeah, that appearance on the page is another whole aspect of what you poets do. So it's fun.
that is a whole other visual poetry. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think of E.E. Cummings and the way he arranged things. I'm sure there's lots of others that have done that kind of experimentation. But
can we maybe hear another poem? Would that be appropriate?
Sure.
Love it.
Great.
Let me see here.
And it's great. Let me just mention while you're looking, Diane, that everyone on the show today will be contributing to that Poem a Day project. So some of us have already recorded. Others will be recording in the next couple of days. And so in April, look for at least one poem a day at YubaSutterArts Facebook page. It'll be a fun project for the month of April.
Yep, I'll be coming by tomorrow to I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. No,
Trace Kilmer or the Mad magazine version. I think here a poem as lovely as a beer. The brew that Jim Carr has on tap with snowy base and foamy cap.
Go ahead, David.
Anyway.
Wow.
Okay, yeah,
that's from 50 years ago. I was a Mad magazine reader.
Yeah, and it was better than the original. So yes, did you find something for us?
Yes, I did.
Right, excellent.
One of my favorite flowers are petunias. And of course, back east where I grew up, you said goodbye to them in the fall, not even winter. And you planted them every year. They were annuals. And one of the wonderful things about our climate here is they remain alive all winter long. And as soon as you get that hint of spring, which is way before normal spring, they start blooming. And so now mine are blooming. They were planted 2 or 3 years ago in pots, and they're all blooming their heads off right now. So it's wonderful.
Yep.
So petunias. Pink petunias comfort without attempting to preach. When the blossoms, loosened by wind, quiver, or the petals or the stamen whispers, then releases, the garden becomes silent as soil-skilled hands reach upward to pick a bouquet.
Love it. Love it, love it.
And even in Tehachapi that had the 4 seasons, the winter came and it was the end of the petunias. So it's when I first moved to California, it amazed me that some plants that we had as house plants were actually the size of trees outside. It was just amazing, and that first part of my California life was in San Diego, where things were just, poinsettias were trees and cactus were huge and just amazing.
That's funny you mentioned that, because I grew up in LA, then I went back to Maryland for 20 years, and in LA and here, I've got jade plants that are growing. They're like small trees. Back east, very exotic, indoor, totally cold, and yeah, I know it's sort of fun to see those differences. Diane, what's your arc with poetry in your lifetime practice?
Yeah, since I was a teenager.
Okay.
I started writing when I was, I think, 14. And I had a very good English teacher when I was in 7th grade.
Worth their weight in gold, aren't they?
Oh, wonderful. And he inspired me. Of course, it was lousy poetry at first, but, I can remember being turned on to Walt Whitman.
Yeah.
And then he would bring in song lyrics, Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, things you could really take apart and look at. So everything in a Whitman-esque way became I feel. And I wrote this really long poem, I feel this and I feel that. I mean, it went on forever ad nauseum. But it was a beginning. You kind of look at it that way.
Oh,
so
Sure.
That was back in Rochester?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many of us, that English teacher. It's that English teacher.
Yes.
The guy you'll never forget, the one that changed your life, the one that got to you. And
I was a lady, actually an African American woman. That I can't remember her name, but she was the one that got me going on and got me published in the school paper. But she was teaching me haiku, and haiku just took me over. I was writing haikus about everything.
Wow.
10th grade, I think.
Wow.
I think if you're kind of geared toward language arts or the poetic side of things, or whatever side brain is the more poetic side, we're going to meet that English teacher sometime, place. We're going to
if you're very lucky.
If you're very lucky,
definitely.
and they're going to open up a door for you that you can go as far into that room as you want to. But when you said, as an English teacher, I thought, yes, isn't always the guy that we're supposed to meet, or the girl, the woman that we're supposed to meet, who's going to say, yeah, this is poetry. Oh, okay, well, that's a big thing. And I've just got a little piece of it in my mind, but I know there's room for expansion. So tell us about your English teacher. What was he like, or she like?
He was
you like pop music, obviously. You like singer-songwriters.
His name was Mr. Hellberg. And, to look back on it now, he was a new teacher. I mean, he was probably 22, 23. And, he just brought life to poetry. Where before you were the sentence structure and the dangling participle and, all of the mechanics of writing.
Yeah.
And then after that, he would bring in poetry and actually gave us a chance to write and listen to that. And it was just so different because you would take apart like Sound of Silence, and just what a wonderful poem that is. If you just look at it freestanding from the music, and a lot of the Beatles too, a lot of different things that were popular at that time. And he would print them off on the ditto machine or whatever they used back then. And you would look at it and look at each line. Well, what does that mean? What do you think it means? What do you think it means? And, why don't you take a line from that and write something on your own? And of course, most of us, beginning this, well, poetry has to rhyme. No, it doesn't. Read this, read this and the rhythm and the meaning behind it. Why did he choose that word instead of this word? And it just opened up a whole new world.
Yeah, that's we're blessed to have those encounters. We're very fortunate to have those kinds of encounters. And maybe somebody else would have turned us onto the world of poetry, but for each of us, it seems that we have this conduit, this one person that kind of turns the light switch on. And we take it from there.
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I'm just, because we're talking about poetry and stuff, I just hope these English teachers that we mentioned realize how great an impact they had. I mean, a lot of them go home and think, oh my gosh, what a hard day. Did I reach anybody? And I'm hoping some of them are listening to this. And yes, you got us.
Yeah.
We're good.
And adding on to that, we have some tremendous English teachers here in the community. As you know, we do the Poetry Out Loud program each year, national program. Now that's not writing poetry, but it's certainly appreciating, memorizing, and reciting poetry. And in spite of the pandemic, we still had a great level of participation this year. Of course,
Yes, it was great.
All virtual. Did you judge this year?
Yes.
You did, right? Yeah, you've been doing that for us. I know Tom's helped out with that over the years, and there's 1,000 poems, and keeping it relevant. I think that's like your English teacher bringing in pop song lyrics that are magnificent poetry in many cases. And when you got masters like Bob Dylan, hey, Nobel laureate for gosh sake. Of course, I was a long-term English teacher sub at Wheatland High School a few years ago. It was the year that Dylan got the Nobel Prize for Literature. I literally I was so depressed. I went through the whole day, 4 or 5 classes I guess I had, and none of the students, maybe one, because his parents were always taking him to concerts, so he'd heard about Dylan through them. I think one student all day knew who Bob Dylan was.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Well, and that spawned a whole nother series of lesson ideas that I had about finding relevance in pop music lyrics. So we worked it, but it's like incredible. So, but some of the teachers here that support the Poetry Out Loud program, we just love working with them, and they're passionate about it. I don't think poetry is a huge thing in the curriculum these days. It's, but it gets some attention, and we certainly keep jumping up and down and saying, hey, Poetry Out Loud, there's 1,000 poems that they can choose from, short, long, old, new, and finding that poem that engages with them, with young people. And they do. It's amazing the choices they make. They find something that hopefully means something to them to memorize and then recite. So,
Diane, when is your next Poetry Square?
April 15th, I believe.
Ides of April.
April 15th.
The Ides of April.
Yep.
Yes.
At 2?
For extra credit, who are your 3 guests?
Let me see. There is Tom Lynch of Tehachapi. There's Jacqueline Smithson Howard, who's in Sacramento.
Right.
And there's
Marge Merrill.
Marge Merrill, who's in upstate New York. Yes.
So it's really a national broadcast.
Yes, we had it local this past time, a few days ago. They were all local. And but even there, if Poetry Square was live, say from Burroughs Theater, a lot of people who are even in Sacramento or Grass Valley, it's nighttime, I don't want to drive there, and I've got to drive back, and it's raining, and so again, I'm not sure, because I feel the same way about going there. I'm not sure I could get people within the greater area here to come in, but you can definitely do it online.
Yeah, so we're going to keep this going. We're
going to hybrid it. We'll have a live stream from the Burroughs Theater.
We've got a fabulous projection system. When we have that option later this year with all of you who are presenters, we'll talk about what we might be able to do to at least try hybrid events. You're live on stage with a couple of folks that are willing to come out. We can have a live audience, and then you stream in couple of other people,
That's great.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Maybe we could get, before we sign off, maybe we could get one more poem from Diane, and then David's got to tell us about the art going on around town, but we'd like, if we could, can we do that?
Sure.
Can we do another poem for us?
Sure. I think we also have, poetry is look at Amanda Gorman, how she did such a great job at the inauguration. And you have Joy Harjo. You have people who are well known, who are in the forefront now.
They're becoming, more. You're right. I think more well known, and the Amanda Gormans of the world, and that inspired us to do our inaugural poem event on President's Day this year to feature. There have only been 6 poets that have read it inauguration. So it was fun to explore that, and thank you to Amanda Gorman for inspiring that exploration. So, amazing young woman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one is, I just set up my aquarium. When we had the fire, all of the aquarium bowed out. It was an acrylic aquarium, and 3 days later, all of the fish were dead. So, I set up my aquarium again within the past few weeks. And so this kind of comes from that. So it's called Downward Siphon. The siphon sucks the aquarium water down into a waiting red plastic bucket. Green algae liquid fills the container as the debris from the bottom travels through coils of tubing like tiny riders of modern roller coasters. After each full trough, they empty onto summer-thirsty roses, vegetables, shrubs. The waste of fauna becomes food for flora in a cycle of giving and receiving. Plants stand taller and open after their drink. Fish swim with renewed vitality after replaced water. Gratitude comes in the growth of both recipients. A wish here for the case of humanity, when too often one takes and doesn't give, and some starve for the measured growth of others.
Well, that's another splendid poem.
We're just setting up a new aquarium, so I'm gonna have to get a copy of that one. So
okay.
Diane, we are such a lucky community to have you in it and to have you share your poetry with us, and we appreciate.
Well, thank you.
We appreciate you visiting with us today, and we're going to be tuning into Poetry Square down the road. Yeah. And so, just a pleasure to have you on our show today. Good luck with your future efforts, and let's keep this this poetry going here in town. And you're one of the linchpins. So thank you.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to jump in too as soon as we go live. So.
Great.
Thank you.
For April, National Poetry Month. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. Right. Thank you.
We'll see you around town.
Bye.
Definitely. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Oh, always great chatting with Diane. She's so
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So humble and so insightful and just
a hell of a poet.
Treasure. A hell of a poet. That's right. Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, and I got to tell you, as as event planners and all the work that Abby and I do, we really appreciate. Diane's got this stable of poets that she works with, and so I'm sitting here reading from my calendar of events that we've already sent into the Appeal Democrat, and she had her list of poets already scheduled, and so I could show off. And when she forgot the one poet,
yeah,
I just happen to have my cheat sheet here. So.
Yeah. Mr. Know-It-All.
Oh, she's just so great to work with. So, and you all are, you do all this stuff every month, Tom and Joe, all the things you're involved with. So, gosh, ain't we lucky? We lucky?
Just one thing I am involved with that I'd like to push is the name Richard Derrazzo. And Richard Derrazzo, and you mentioned earlier Alex Mazarol.
Yeah.
And Alex and Richard have a musical duo, guitar and her vocal, his guitar, her vocal.
Right.
And they're very, very good. And he will be my singer-songwriter guest on the next a week from yesterday, next Saturday.
That's your virtual solo session?
Yeah, with the Spotlight on Songwriters. It's Richard Derrazzo. He's he's moved from Sac to Yuba City, so he's new to our community. I can tell you he's got an awful lot to offer the arts community here. He's a talented young man, and well, everybody's a young man to me, but he's a talented guy, and so check him out next Saturday at 1:00 PST.
March 27th, 1 p.m.
Yeah, for Richard Derrazzo is his name.
Richard Derrazzo.
Fine singer-songwriter, nice guy too.
Oh, I love that he's in tandem with Alex Mazarol, who.
Oh yeah, it's a good. I've seen some of their videos,
it's gonna be nice now he lives here, because that was one of their challenges was his commute.
Yeah,
from Sacramento.
So, and I don't know if she'll be able to join him on the show. I would love that, but I know she's busy, and I didn't want to oppose. But maybe she will join him. I don't know.
Well, she finished up the Applause Kid musical this last week, and it showed yesterday, and then today the 2 p.m. matinee. If you haven't seen it, go to Sutter Arts Facebook page or our YouTube channel and catch Could You Hug a Cactus?
Could You Hug a Cactus?
Be 25 minutes, well worth your time. These young performers, just truly remarkable, and just they all have a moment, and it all comes together at the end. And Alex puts it all together, just amazing. Absolutely.
She's such a great role model for those kids.
She is. And then she wraps it up at the end and gives a big shout out to everybody. And she does all the production. She does the directing, the film, casting, directing, filming. And it's the same group that did the team that did Super Happy Awesome News. And we're just so lucky to have another piece.
These kids are going to be so overjoyed when they get to meet her in person and realize that she's the same height they are.
She actually met with them one-on-one. They were filming all around our campus in Marysville and just a little bit down the street. So she did one at a time, and again just put it all together. And so they've met her. They know she's she'd be mighty though she'd be small, or whatever that line is.
She is very mighty. I've worked with her. When we do in the Healthy Kids, the amount of energy because she would be one of the leads, so she would start this show, which is like a huge spiel, and then the dance and everything, and
amazing.
She'd do it like it was nothing. I mean, I was like Tom over there going,
yeah, really.
Oh gosh. So catch Could You Hug a Cactus? Catch the instant replay. Tom, you mentioned a virtual solo session next weekend. Another of our ongoing projects or programs, Sue Grau is still doing Homebodies Porch Portraits. This is sort of a photography project that she conjured, and the whole idea is you just give a call or send an email to porchportraits2021@gmail.com. Send Sue a note and say, I'd like to do this. These are some dates and times that work for me. She comes out, keeps her distance. You come out individually with your pets, with your family, with or without a sign, however you want to position yourselves. And she takes your picture. And this will become part of an exhibit later this year. And we're hoping to actually bind a book, kind of a look at the at least the tail end of the pandemic year. We're hoping that we're on the right direction of the curve at this point. But we're still doing this as sort of a COVID-related photo project. So Homebodies Porch Portraits.
Talk about another great artist. What a great photographer Sue Grau is.
And she does a great job with the portraits as well. And just seems to capture people at just the right moment. Next Tuesday, Artist Alchemy, I'm interviewing someone that I actually haven't met literally, but met through Sue, a friend of hers, Robert Haycock, who's a retired museum exhibit installer, and has been involved with a number of the Bay Area museums, and fascinating guy. We've had some correspondence. So Robert Haycock will be on Artist Alchemy with me next Tuesday, March 23rd at 4 p.m. On YouTube, and also our YubaSutter Arts Facebook page. Gosh,
David, on that note, did you watch Sunday Morning this morning?
I did.
Did you see that collection of Roman statuary?
Yes. Oh yeah.
And it's going to come to the United States at some point. So
we hope for a West Coast show.
I wonder if they bring some by here.
We wish. Yeah, we'll get the YubaSutter area booking somewhere.
Perfect. I knew you and Abby could do it.
Right.
Since we talked a lot about poetry today, I caught KQED Forum on NPR driving back from SAC, and our friend Marcello Hernandez Castillo was one of the 4 poets that were interviewed on that nationally broadcast show, and he was, read some of his things, and so. We have an active poetry scene here with some very, very good poets who live in this area.
Yeah.
Well, in all the arts, we have talented people in all the arts.
We really do. It's amazing. I love that. Here we are in this little community of 170,000 people, but just the diversity and the talent pool. it's just a real delight to be in the midst of it all. And we talked to Marcelo last week, and he's planning something for National Poetry Month, and we'll see what he comes up with.
Good, yeah.
We're doing a Shakespeare's birthday party on the 25th of April. It'll be an hour program of basically bits of virtual this and that, little snips of stage combat demonstration, and maybe some fencing and a little bit of Shakespeare's body, reading Shakespeare for the hot parts. This was, there's some elevated language in there, but he was also speaking to those groundlings, those folks that were standing in front of the stage in the rain, and had to keep them entertained with a little different slant. And when you get behind some of the meaning behind some of the famous lines, it's like, oh my gosh. It's kind of fun. So we'll have some fun with that. We'll keep it family friendly, but we'll look at Shakespeare's body. So that'll be a fun thing. Another big event next month. We'll talk about this on the next show, but we're also hosting another one of our community conversations. We're going to bring government leaders together, supervisors, council members, and talk about the value of public art, trying to elevate that conversation. There's some support from the governments in our two counties, but it needs to become more of a top of mind issue as part of economic development. Not to put dollars and cents on the arts, but that is an aspect of it. And we've got people in these both of our counties that are working artists, as well as just supporting, again, public art in general, putting up more murals or statuary or performance, whatever it may be that, can actually help bring people to the community. Or as businesses decide to create new job opportunities here, people look for, what's the culture of this community? Is there an active art scene? People expect that, I think, as a quality of life factor. Or are you going to just work here and, live in Roseville or Natomas or Sacramento or Chico and commute? If we can create that where people really look at the art and culture scene here, I think it'll be a tremendous blessing for all of us. So we're going to get some government leaders together and kind of not put them on the spot, but have a conversation about, hey, what will it take to increase budget and public support for the arts in Yuba and Sutter counties? So
good plan.
Always something to, consider. So that'll be a great conversation. That's probably enough for now. Well, I'm sorry. Let me mention one more. Art Fix. That's our virtual version of Art Mix at the Crocker Museum. And our next Art Fix will be April 24th. And that's going to be a kind of a 60s theme, sort of a spring fling. So, bring out your tie-dye and we're going to have a lot of fun doing a virtual art party with mixology, dance instruction, trivia, just a whole bunch of things. We've done a couple of them now, and they've been a lot of fun. So
cool.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about driving home.
And you can just stay home and in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
I don't know. I think Gay's working real hard on the musical.
Wait.
I know.
I was gonna say, wasn't there something Alex and Gay and Kelly and
that's probably going to be for another show down the road, but there's a musical coming up that's going to be delightful.
All right.
Called Songs for a New World. Very exciting material.
Right.
I've been a kind of a musical widow.
Yeah.
I haven't seen much of her. She's learning all these applications and all these things. It's incredible what she's doing, but she's doing it about 4 or 5 hours a night. And
wow.
So it's going to be a good show. There's some real talent going into this, and but I think we'll be talking about this more. And Alex is saying it, our engineer is one of the stars of the show, and
I know that guy. He's right over
Yeah,
there. He should come in.
He's in one of the boxes somewhere.
There he is.
But Kelly Cunningham, Janet Fry, and Alex and Matt Demerit are all performing vocally in the show. It's just going to be fun. It's rock and music, and a lot of different moods in the music, a lot of different kinds of sounds and instrumentation. It's going to be good.
Yep.
So we'll be talking about that more as we get closer to the event.
Expand your musical theater repertoire.
Yeah.
The first musical by Tony Award winner Jason Robert Brown, Songs for a New World. So yeah, you'll be hearing more about that in the next couple of weeks. So.
God, we've needed a new world since last year, and I think maybe one's coming. So
that's right.
We got one, dude. We got a new world. Look at all the stuff we're doing. Yeah. I mean, it like Diane was saying, this technology is going to become a part of everything we do.
Yeah.
So, but
maybe if more people stay home and Zoom for work, we'll have a little better air quality from less traffic. There are all kinds of beneficial side effects. We don't know how to look at it all yet, but things are unfolding like they always do in this technological age.
Absolutely.
We can just figure out how not to eat ourselves to death while sitting in front of our computer.
Return to slender, Joe. Return to you said it best. Okay, we good for a couple more weeks now, guys?
I think so.
We'll see you in 2.
We're good.
Hey, good to see you guys. Hey, happy arting. Art well.
Happy arting, everyone.
Stay artful. Okay, thanks. Bye.